Since our founding 64 years ago, Everymind has served the community with our mission, offering a growing network of health and human services support. Our Serving Together program is a vitally important program in our efforts to strengthen communities and empower individuals to reach optimal mental wellness. We have over 120 people on the webinar this morning, and I want to extend a warm welcome to everyone that has joined us. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you haven't submitted questions in advance, please put them in the chat or raise them in your breakout session, and we'll be sure to address them or follow up with you. We welcome all questions. Today's IPR is being recorded, as you just heard, and we'll be sending that to everyone after the event. Also, if you don't already follow Everymind and Serving Together on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, I welcome and encourage all of you to do so that we can continue to support further collaboration among the partners. We'll follow you back. Before we delve into today's program, I'd like to thank our valued funders and partners. We could not do this work without these funders. Agua Fund, Blue Star Families, Boeing, the Greater Washington Community Foundation, the Harry and Jeanette Weinberg Foundation, Syracuse University's Institute for Veterans and Military Families, Montgomery County Government, the Morris and Gwendolyn K. Fritz Foundation, Northrop Grumman, Unite Us, and Wells Fargo. We have all lived through a difficult 18 months. For us at Everymind, this has been a period of sustained growth to meet the escalating needs of our communities as they dealt with the social and emotional impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Black Lives Matter movement, the Capitol riot, the withdrawal and subsequent attacks in Afghanistan, and the 20th anniversary of 9/11. In the last year, the Serving Together team has doubled in size to meet the growth in demand for our services and the changing complexity of our clients' needs. We are well poised to work alongside all of you, our partners, to serve our military and veteran community and their families. While we pivoted quickly last year, this year we showed the same agility in engaging our communities in discussions around the critical issues we saw being raised across the country. We spearheaded DEI listening sessions, continued our peer navigation and collaborative model, and expanded our services into Central Maryland. Today, we're going to continue this critical work of serving together by hearing from our partners, staff, allies in the community, and thought leaders who inspire us all as we look to engage the military and veteran communities and support them in the spirit of service. We would like to start our program this morning with a special testimony from one of our current Serving Together clients, Rob Hill, who wanted to share his story and journey.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rob Hill, and I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. You know, through my experience in the military, I know it's an incredibly diverse workplace. I work with people from all 50 states, U.S. territories, and foreign countries. Every background imaginable, with diverse levels of education and skills, performing every job function in society, plus, of course, many unique to military service. This diversity of skills and experience is made available to the private sector via veterans who also bring highly desirable traits, including a strong work ethic and tenacity, and an attitude of getting the job done, with an eagerness to learn and grow and earn promotions. This is certainly true for me, yet I found myself unemployed after 13 years with the company and in the middle of a pandemic. I hadn't even uttered the word resume in over a decade, let alone had one ready to go. And I learned that things had changed. The resume format of yesterday wasn't going to cut it today. I needed guidance and a support network. So I reached out to Serving Together, where I found an empathetic and knowing voice. I shared my career history and my thoughts and ideas on my career direction and aspirations. Serving Together provided me new information on educational institutions with veteran programs and courses in areas including project management and others that are in demand today. I was really struck by Serving Together's willingness and ability to work with me and my specific situation at my career stage. It's really not a one-size-fits-all when it comes to serving veterans, and Serving Together understands that. For me, they provided a much-needed guiding voice as I've navigated my career transition and explored potential new directions. Taking forward steps each day is important during this process, and Serving Together has been a great resource for me in doing so. My advice to other veterans is to seek support wherever you can and reach out to Serving Together for their support. They are here to serve you. Give them a call.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Amy Stoddard, and I am the Northern Virginia Program Manager for Serving Together. It is a pleasure to be with everyone this morning. Just wanted to provide just a little bit of insight. Tracy Walden was unable to attend this morning, so we're going to move right into some of our slides and talk a little bit about who we serve. So as you can see, here's a slide. In this, we're going to review and break down who we serve at Serving Together. As you can see, we have 4 different areas: race, ethnicity, gender, and the age of our clients. And according to our data, 38% of our clients have disclosed their race as Black or African American. And as you could see, 19% have disclosed their race as white. As we move on to our gender, I really wanted to highlight that a large percent of our clients are female veterans, and that percentage is 28%. And I'm going to spend just a little bit of time on this and being able to talk about the challenges that our female veterans face. We know that many of our veterans are having trouble accessing mental health, locating PTSD support, childcare, family services within the region, also accessing legal services and employment opportunities. At Serving Together, we have strategically partnered with organizations like yourselves that specifically serve our female veterans with an inclusive and safe and supportive services and environment. Moving on, we wanted to kind of spend a little bit of time also on the age of our clients and show the range of ages that we actually serve. And as you can see, 18 to 75 plus. But the largest amount of in the age group is the 35 to 44%. And that is at 22%, and 45 to 64 is actually 20% of our veterans. Moving over to our ethnicity, as you can see that our non-Hispanic and Latino population has disclosed 46%, and 4% shows that they're Hispanic or Latino. So here's just a little bit of an overview of the data that we have collected. If we can move to the next slide, please. This particular slide we're going to talk a little bit about our military members and our veteran clients. And here we have 3 different graphs that provide some insight on the service era, our military affiliation, and our branch of service that we serve. As you can see, and what we really wanted to highlight, that at 39%, our veterans have disclosed that they are post 9/11 veterans. And at 13%, both our post-Vietnam War and our Persian Gulf War veterans are both at 13%. Moving down to our military affiliation, you can see that 82% of our have disclosed that their service members are veterans. So that's a large amount of the clients that we serve. And also 10% are our spouses, our caregivers, our widows, and family members. And across the board, we serve everyone at Serving Together. And we can see here, though, that 82% are our service members and veterans. Moving on to our branch, our data shows that 50% of the branch, or Army, 19 are our veterans, are our Navy, and 15% is our Air Force, and 12 consists of our Marine Corps, as well as 1% is our Coast Guard. So these two slides, they just provide some insight on the branches of service, the age brackets that we serve, and the service areas that we have also provided service to at our coordination center. So we are now at the point where we are going to move on, and I have the pleasure and honor of introducing our keynote speaker, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force retired, Khalith Wright. Khalith is an organizational leadership consultant, executive coach, and professional speaker with outstanding track record of helping organizations to achieve their peak performance through training and mentoring executives in the art of servant leadership and motivating multi-generational teams across cultures and geographies. He currently serves as the CEO of the Air Force AIDS Society. As a 32-year veteran of the United States Air Force, he served as the 18th Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, representing the highest enlisted level of leadership, where he provided direction and represented the interests of the enlisted force to the American public and to leaders at all levels of government. He also championed international leadership development programs for 17 partner nations and worked with Congress on legislative affairs to enhance quality of life policies and programs for service members and their families. So it is my honor to introduce you to Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, retired Khalith Wright.
All right, thank you, Amy. I really appreciate the invite to come here today and speak to everyone about a topic that's near and dear to my heart that I think is extremely important, and that's the topic centered around diversity, equity, and inclusion. First, let me say thank you, Amy, to your team, Serving Together, for all the work that you do for our veterans. You know, again, like I mentioned earlier, I think this is a really, actually an extremely important topic that I believe is well overdue. And, you know, I think I'm happy that the George Floyd incident and many of the other incidents that occurred before that, but I do believe what happened last year with George Floyd kind of changed the trajectory of the discussions around race, around discrimination, around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'm excited that this incident, I'm saddened that it took an incident like this, but I am excited that the incident itself is causing us to have more meaningful, more deep, more relevant conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion. But I think I'm equally saddened that it's taking this long. And so I'm hoping, I guess I would say I'm cautiously optimistic that not only as a nation, but that the military and the Department of Defense can make some progress by having some real conversations about this topic. Some of the challenges that I believe exist, and I believe these challenges exist in this nation, but I'll speak specifically about some of the challenges when it comes to diversity and inclusion in the United States military. Well, you know, first on an individual level, what I believe and what I've seen and honestly what I've felt and had to deal with is, you know, what is sometimes referred to as the tax. And this can be the minority, or in many cases, to be blunt, the African American or Black tax. I've also seen and dealt with many females who believe that there is a tax that they have to pay on a regular basis, and this refers to this idea that you have to, as a minority or as a female, you have to assimilate to the culture that you're in. You have to work 10 times harder than your counterparts. And not only that, but that you carry the weight of the entire gender, or in the case of minorities, the entire race, that everything you do, you're being judged, and the entire race is being judged based on what you do as an individual. And so, you know, that is a huge challenge for many members in the military, just like many people outside of the military in our society. But what I believe is the bigger challenge for the Department of Defense when it comes to this issue is there are many senior leaders at every level. I had opportunities to sit with them, to observe them, to have conversations with them. And I'm talking about from the chief of staff all the way down to the most basic unit in the United States Air Force. And so I'll assume that this is the same in the other departments, is that there are many people who just don't see it. There are many senior leaders that are responsible for, you know, creating a culture of inclusion, making sure that teams are diverse, but somehow they don't see that there is an actual problem. Now, in my opinion, and I think most would agree, maybe not, but in my opinion, there's tons of anecdotal evidence that, you know, there are disparities when it comes to race and gender. But more importantly, there's tons of actual data that suggests that there are disparities in this case. And so it baffles me, initially it baffled me that senior leaders who spent in many cases more time than me in the military would say, hey, I just don't see it. I don't understand it. And so I've tried to, you know, be non-judgmental about this issue and really try to look at it from their point of view and try to understand exactly why there's this gap between the people who live it every single day and the people who are responsible for either changing policy or implementing programs that could actually make a difference. And so I think the first step is for, you know, their senior leaders, and this would go for any organization, is to first come to terms with that there's an actual problem here, that there is something that needs to be dealt with, that this is not something that people make up just, you know, in their heads. I think one of the things that I like about what you all do is that you use a lot of data. You know, there was just a little bit here, but in my dealings with you, you make sure that the things that you talk about and the things that you deal with are based upon data. And so the data is there, it's available. Here's what I believe is you know, one of the bigger challenges when it comes to this idea that there are senior leaders who don't see it. To a certain extent, to see and admit that this is a problem now, that this has been a problem for many, many years, is in some ways, you know, to admit that I have been complicit in allowing this to exist, allowing these conditions or this situation to exist when it comes to the various disparities, whether it's in promotion opportunities, and whatnot. And that's a challenging thing. That's a challenging thing for anyone. You know, I was a Chief Master Sergeant in the Air Force, and I had to come to terms, I had to have a reckoning with myself, because even in my mind, as an African American, as a minority in the Air Force, that's someone that was in a position of leadership and influence, you know, I felt like I did not do enough. I felt like I was complicit in allowing some of the policies and some of the programs and some of the situations to actually exist. Now, in my subconsciously, I think I attributed this to, man, I'm just so busy. There's just so many issues. There's just so much things. The mission of the United States Air Force, you know, there are things happening, and I'm just so busy, and I really fell asleep at the wheel and wasn't paying attention. And so, you know, I honestly, I try to live with no regrets. But if I look back, I really wish that I had been more purposeful, more intentional about this particular topic. And so, again, I understand how senior leaders can sometimes not have this on their radar of all the things that in any organization, in any business that, you know, falls on your plate. Sometimes this maybe doesn't rise to the level of importance that I think it has done in the last year and a half. And so, again, I'm excited that we do it now. I'm committed now to being as intentional and as purposeful in my new role as CEO, and in some of the other roles that I play in as a consultant, as a board member, and making sure that this issue stays at the forefront, and that, you know, we are develop programs and processes that make sure that females, minorities, and other disadvantaged groups receive the same opportunities as their counterparts. You know, those are, I think, two of the greater challenges that I see. Now, let me talk about some of the opportunities that I think exist. And like I just mentioned, I think the very first opportunity that we have here as leaders is, one, to be intentional and purposeful about understanding this issue and to implementing processes, programs, you know, creating policies or eliminating policies to do something about it. Our missions is we provide scholarships for dependents of Air Force veterans. And I just asked the question, hey, how of the $6 million a year or so in scholarships that we provide, how many of those scholarships go to minority students? And response from my team was, you know, we don't know because we don't track it. We just, you know, we take care of everyone. And so while there is no malice in this idea that, you know, we in assuming that everyone is taking advantage of our scholarships, you know, the reality is it could be the most diverse group on the planet that's receiving these scholarships, or it could be the most homogenous group on the planet. And so I think what we, and this was a really easy fix, is, hey, we just had to start asking the question. As uncomfortable as some people may have thought that it was, let's just ask the question on the application process, race, what is your race and gender, so we can actually see how many minorities we're serving. And then we went on to develop relationships with HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, as well as some of the tier 1 schools across the country where most of the minorities actually attend, that may not get the same opportunities at scholarships. And then we committed to making sure that 25% of our total scholarship, the total amount of scholarships go to minority students. And that's just a small thing, but, you know, I've rededicated and committed myself to being very intentional and purposeful. And I think that's the first step, is that leaders have to, this is not something that will fix itself. This is not something that will go away if you, you know, don't pay attention to it. This is something that, and I'll tell you, just being in the military, one of the, this is maybe a blessing and a curse, is that command tours are so short. Most command tours are 2 years, some are 3 years. And so it's relatively easy to ignore all kinds of problems, but it's certainly easy to ignore this problem of racial disparity, because, and leave it for someone else. And sometimes it's even easy to rationalize, hey, of all the things that the commander in chief has asked me to do, again, this does not raise to the priority level that I think it is, and I only have so much bandwidth, and maybe I'll leave this for the next person. So first thing I think when it comes to opportunities is to be purposeful and intentional about, one, recognizing that this is an issue. The second thing is, man, we have to be comfortable having really difficult conversations. This is a challenging and difficult conversation, but I believe it is very necessary. Some of the feedback that I got from commanders at all levels is, I don't know what to say. I'm not trained or skilled to have conversations around race, around gender, around diversity. But I think it's all of our responsibilities as senior leaders. We have difficult conversations about performance. We have difficult conversations about budgets. We have difficult conversations about behavior and many other things. And I will put this in that same category. And in any of those other categories, if I'm unable to have the conversation, if I'm not educated or informed about the issue, budget, behavior, performance, there's a pretty good chance that I'm going to educate myself. There's a pretty good chance that I'm going to reach out to someone in my resource pool to say, hey, I need to have a really difficult conversation about this. I don't know what to say. Can you help me out? And so the same thing applies to race and gender. You know, this again, these problems won't fix themselves, and if we don't talk about them, if we don't educate ourselves about the various cultures that exist in our military or within our organizations, if we don't educate ourselves about the differences that we all have as human beings, whether it's in race, gender, religion, and whatnot, then these problems will continue to, perpetuate. And so I think it's incumbent upon all of us to be willing to have these difficult conversations, and they will border on people being offended. I think as I've had these conversations in the past, there really is, I think where it gets, really hairy is the difference between individuals who may or may not be racist and a system that has racist policies, which is not the same. I think most people, as you begin to have the conversation, they focus in on, hey, I'm not racist, I don't discriminate, which again may or may not be true, but that's different from having or supporting policies that are discriminatory. And so having open, honest conversations, I think, is the other real opportunity, opening our minds and being willing to say, I have not paid enough attention to this. And because of me as a senior leader, this issue has not been able to be repaired. And I think that's really important. This is really not that much different. I've never been an alcoholic, but I can associate with the 12 steps. And the first step is understanding that a problem exists. And if we keep our blinders on and don't want to deal with the problem, then it'll be hard to really get after this. And then I think after, committing to being intentional and purposeful, and then committing to better understanding through difficult conversations, committing to acknowledging that as a leader, regardless of my status, I am responsible for this issue. Then we can skip to the different types of solutions. One of the things that I've seen is we don't spend enough time analyzing. And now I'm a person, I've always been a leader. I don't like to analyze things to death. I don't like to sit around and talk for days. I mean, I am a person, I am a man of action. But I do believe that we don't spend enough time, orienting ourselves and better understanding this issue. Sometimes we just go straight to solutions, which can be patronizing. I watched in the military as when this issue came up last year, we went straight to, okay, we'll just allow Black guys to wear beards, or we'll just allow people to wear their hair in a certain way that we considered, quick fixes for minorities. And again, these can be patronizing because honestly, they don't get after the real issue. They don't get after the issue of there are not enough minorities in leadership positions. There are not enough minorities that are fighter pilots. There's only 15 African-American fighter pilots in the entire United States Air Force, which I think is a shame. So there's some real issues with race and disparity, and I think when you jump straight to, hey, let's start trying to fix things without really fully committing and understanding the problem is where we get into trouble. So again, I'm committed in my new role. I wish I could go back and do more for women, for minorities, for the LGBT community when I was in the Air Force. But all I can do now is commit myself to being an advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as helping other organizations on their journey for all of us to be better. So again, I want to thank you, Amy, and the rest of the team for allowing me a little bit of time to have this discussion. And if time permits, I'll be open to any questions that you all might have.
We do have time to take a couple questions. So if anyone would like to come off mute and ask Khalith a question, please feel free.
I have a question. Yes, this is Dr. X. I have a question about how you would define diversity, equity, and inclusion. Your personal definition. How do you compare and contrast those three terms?
Yeah, thanks, Dr. X. So, diversity in my mind is just the mere idea that you have a diverse staff. I think somebody mentioned earlier that you have people, I think it was Rob from the video, that you have people from different backgrounds, that you have people from different races, that you have people from of different genders and so on, that actually exist in the organization, right? That the organization is not homogenous, and that, at least in my mind, is diversity. Inclusion, in my mind, is the idea that not only do you have all of these people at the table, but that they actually have a voice, that they're included. There's one thing, to be just a part of an organization. It's a whole separate thing to have what you believe is an equal voice, or the same voice in issues, ideas, how the organization is run, as in this particular case, as in your white male counterparts, which is, as we all know, the majority. And then from an equity standpoint, at least in my mind, this idea that there's a diverse population within the organization, that it is inclusive in nature, and that everyone has the same opportunities to advance, to promote, to speak up and whatnot, which is not always the case. Especially, and I get certainly concerned about organizations where, and I'll just speak for the Air Force, in the aviation community mostly, where minorities or females find themselves as the only one or two within an organization. And it becomes, even more challenging to have a diverse, equitable, and inclusive organization.
I have a question. Actually, it's kind of a two-part question. First part would be to serving together. When we look at who we serve, how does this match up to those that are in active duty service? Meaning that we see 38% are Black or African American. Where does that ratio turn into actually serving? I'm curious how that translates into them getting out and using services. And the other question would be to you, sir. I was very surprised of all the data that we saw today. I did not expect that the people that we would serve would be Black and African American at 38%. And when I say if, I mean when. There is a system of oppression that goes on in the military. I would actually expect that number to be less, because I would expect them not to trust the service or to go and try to get that service. In your mind, why is that number higher than whites taking advantage of it?
I don't know. Well, first, I don't know that there's truly, words matter. I don't know that there's truly a system of oppression in the military. I do believe that I would consider it racial, disparities. But maybe the number is higher because the opportunities that African Americans are presented may not be the same. They may not have the same opportunities in transition. And so one of the things that I found out about transition is you can have the best resume, you can have the best background, you can have the greatest experience. But if you don't have a sponsor, if you don't have someone that's pushing your name forward, that's saying, hey, Khalith is the guy that you want to look at, then your transition will be difficult, no matter how talented you may be. This is something that exists, and which is, to be honest, part of the problem in the military is that many of the minorities and females don't have the right level of sponsorship. And now, again, this could be due to, and it's partly due to unconscious bias, right? We associate and we like people who look like us. And so the high number of African Americans, Danny, could be because they have more of a challenge transitioning than some of their counterparts.
And I don't mean to monopolize this, but if I could ask you one more question.
Absolutely.
We're currently, so I'm with Platoon 22. We're currently building a 20,000 square foot Veteran Services Center here in Frederick, Maryland, to serve the entire region. And the entire purpose of that building is to provide best-in-class transitional support. I've never thought I knew transition was a problem. I suffered in transition myself. I got fired from the first job I ever got outside the Army. How would you tackle that problem of sponsorship? Like, what is a way for us to, in the center, try to actively improve those opportunities?
Well, I think one way to improve the opportunities for veterans to be able to successfully transition would be to establish relationships and trust with the organizations that you try to transition them into. Again, if, for example, I'm the CEO of Air Force Aid Society, and if Danny, you and I, establish a relationship of trust and credibility, when you call and say, hey, Khalith, I have a veteran, he's extremely skilled, he has this background, he's actually missing this from an education standpoint, but let me tell you, man, this is the guy or the girl that I think would be a perfect fit to your organization. Then there's a pretty good chance that I'll say, okay, Danny, thanks, send her over, and I'll give her, at least give her a look. And in some instances, this is the pot calling the kettle black, right? Because this type of bias, as good as it may seem for us in transition, is really, to be honest, part of the problem, where not all people get a chance. Because again, if you don't have a sponsor, if you don't have someone on your side, if you don't have someone that's built the connections and the relationships that can help pass you along, then people will struggle. Now, there's a whole nother side to this, and I think with the work that all of you do in with mental health resources and financial resources and other things that I think help people transition. But if you're asking how do we improve that sponsorship, I think it's we build connections and relationships in the organizations where we think outplacement can best occur.
Great, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Khalith, and thank you, Danny, for the questions. I do also want to caveat that after the event today, there's going to be a breakout room, networking breakout room. So Danny, Western Maryland's going to have one. Jason's going to be there. So if you have any particular questions about the data that we're showing today, those would be great times to go ahead and talk about it. Because, I mean, it is a lot of data. We have a lot of slides and to go through as well. So thank you, Khalith.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again very much, Chief Master Sergeant Wright. Really appreciate you being on the call today, for your support and for your very important message today. Thank you again. Hi, everybody. My name is Jason Marshall. I'm the program manager for Western Maryland for Serving Together. Thank you all for joining today. I'm just going to go over a few slides real briefly and then pass the baton. So as you can see, the top 5 service types that Serving Together has dealt with over the past 3 years, number 1 being employment, 2, housing and shelter, 3, income support, 4, individual family support, and then number 5, benefits navigation. So this is what our peer navigators have been dealing with primarily 1 through 5 for the past 3 years. And important to note as well that when a veteran or active duty service member or family member calls us, usually one referral turns into more based on their needs. So just because they're looking for employment, they may also need housing and shelter. They may also need income support. So one referral many, many times turns into 1, 2, or 3 more. So that's a very beneficial service that Serving Together offers on a daily basis. Okay, next slide, please. This next slide, community needs during COVID. As you can see, many, many different referrals, many different needs that have come up over the past 3 years again. Out of these, food assistance and mental behavioral health did rise over the past 3 years, as our data shows. As you can see as well, this is a vast array of referrals, and this is a testament to all the wonderful partners that we have. If it weren't for the partners, we would not have this screen. So these are all the folks that we reach out to be able to assist our veterans and active duty and their families. As you can see, vast array, many, many different referrals for many different things. And we are growing. So our staff is growing, our partners are growing, our support is growing, most importantly. So I want to thank everybody again for joining today. And at this point, I'll pass the baton on to Katie Kilby. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Katie Kilby and I was hired in January to lead our growth into Central Maryland. We have seen such an incredible presence of Serving Together over the last 10 years and especially over the last 3 that in May we were able to officially launch our presence in Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Anne Arundel County, Harford County, and Howard County. And I am just so incredibly privileged to be a part of this network to help bring this service to the community that I live in, that my husband retired out of the Marine Corps in, and just to be a part of the partnerships and the providers that are doing such incredible work in this area. As you can see, we saw even growth over COVID. A lot of that you can imagine that as needs became clear in the result of this pivot that our entire world has made, that we've been receiving more calls through our coordination center. We've been receiving more unique clients through our partner organizations, those provider to provider referrals. And we have been nimble enough and ready to adapt to those needs. Our total number of service requests has also increased, in fact, almost doubled over the course of the last 18 months to 2 years. A lot of that, is just the growing need. Some of that is being able to now serve a larger footprint of military affiliated individuals throughout not only the National Capital Region, but also up here in my neck of the woods in Central Maryland. So one of the questions that we get all the time is, what does Serving Together actually do and how do we do it? And I am just so incredibly proud of the approach that we take, that we are not the direct service providers in this space. Rather, it is our mission to ensure that our veterans, their loved ones, our active duty and transitioning service members are able to knock on the right door and get service efficiently and effectively and get it right that first time. We all know that our population, if they knock on closed doors or are frustrated, they may stop that pursuit for help. And we are able to ensure through our incredibly talented peer navigators and the program manager team that are on the ground developing these partnerships to ensure quality of care and just a robust network. So we're incredibly proud that 71% of our cases are able to get full resolution. And I can attest very very confidently that our peer navigators will not stop trying to make those connections until our population is well served. The average time to match a client to providers is 6 days, but I also know that our peer navigators are following up with partners on the other end. They're checking in on capacity and infrastructure to make sure that we have those resolutions quickly. We are, as you can see, the median time is only 2 days. So that is really our pursuit, is to have our clients in the hands of a provider within 3 days. And we are usually very able to do that. When you're looking at the 6-day range, that's often because there are additional co-occurring needs that we identify and are able to kind of drill down into that story. As most of you know, a lot of the times, somebody may be calling about food security or a resume, and our peer navigators are on the phone. They're making sure that they're identifying the full breadth of opportunity to serve. And we are, often seeing about a 2-week window to close those additional service requests as well. So I'm very proud to be a part of this team. I've been in the military and veteran nonprofit space for more than 8 years now, and have been not so subtly begging Serving Together in every mind to grow up here to the community that I serve. And I had no idea that I would be intimately involved in it. And I'm just so proud to be a part of this team, to watch this grow and really cheer on our peer navigators as they're on the front lines. Thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Erica Fatal, and I am the Senior Peer Navigator with Serving Together. I've been in this role for about 1 year and 6 months. So I'll just be briefly going over a bit about housing and shelter. This data here shows that since May of 2018, 55% of housing and shelter service requests have been resolved by the network. And in the past year, the resolution rates have improved about 6 percentage points. That is due to our collective network and the ability to solve the needs of our clients and get them connected to quality resources like the many organizations that are on call today. The average time to match clients to providers is about 7 days. And during that average time to match, providers are able to review the case, conduct their organization's own screening process, review submitted documentation that we supply, as well as the client, and determine if they can serve the client. And the median time to match to providers is 3 days. And that does not take into account the previous outliers mentioned. And lastly, the median duration of time to close a service request is about 13 days. Next, I'll talk about the mental and behavioral health service requests that we do receive. Since 2018, 75% of the mental and behavioral health service requests have been resolved by the network. And that percentage has held steady over the past 3 years. The average time to match clients to providers is 12 days. And again, that does include outliers such as the screening process, being able to get in contact with the client, additional documentation, and other things. And the median time to match a client to a provider is 1.5 days, 1.5 days. So that is a difference from the average time to connect clients to providers. And the median time it takes for a service request to be closed is about 8 days. And I'd like to go over a client impact story that we've had. During the pandemic, military and veteran connected clients have been calling in with a multitude of needs. We've had clients express just a deterioration in their mental health, happiness, and outlook on the future. And I've heard many times that they're just hoping that this pandemic goes away as soon as possible. In November of 2020, I began working with a female veteran. She was referred to us by the Stephen Cohen Military Family Clinic. She was seeking mental health and behavioral health support. And she agreed to tell her experience of the pandemic, isolation, and the need for support, which I'll read to you all today. And this is just her testimony that she'd like to give today. When I learned about the coronavirus in early 2020, fear and an uncertainty overtook me. The fear was born from awareness that I have a weak immune system and other chronic health problems that put me at risk for this deadly virus, which was spreading rapidly. It was quickly determined that the most vulnerable population were the elderly. As someone over age 60, my risk factor greatly increased. Uncertainty about the future greatly intensified. The PTSD triggers that I thought were under control returned. I tried to manage myself using the resources provided to me by a therapist at the Stephen Cohen Military Family Clinic in Silver Spring, Maryland, which provides support services for military veterans and their families in partnership with the Easter SEALs. It soon became apparent that I could not manage the escalating PTSD triggers on my own. In April 2020, I was contacted by my former therapist who offered to provide short-term biweekly booster counseling sessions. Before the counseling sessions ended in November, the therapist referred me to a social worker to find longer-term counseling for the PTSD symptoms, including anxiety and depression. I was also referred to other services to help address life stressors. Serving Together contacted me soon after the referrals were made. After completing the intake process, I was contacted by organizations that offered counseling services. The first organization that I worked with did not seem to be the right fit. Serving Together stuck with me and continued to search for a therapist on my behalf. Recently, I was contacted by an organization which I am hopeful will match me with a good therapist for long-term counseling treatment. I am sincerely thankful to Serving Together for the timely manner in which I was contacted, the referrals to services, and continued support extended to me as the country continues to battle COVID in the US. It is truly gratifying and humbling to witness the dedication and commitment of the team of people coordinating and providing services for Serving Together. And this letter was signed by Anonymous, a female veteran that we work with. And I just wanted to state that we do have many resources for mental health that we're able to assist our clients with. Many of you all are on this call today, and I just want to thank you all for being here. And I'm just going to toss it over to Jennifer Watson. She'll be going over the community needs during COVID-19.
Awesome. Thank you, Erica. And thank you for sharing your client's story. That's actually a client that Erica works personally with. And on this call, I want to quickly just make note that we have two phenomenal peer navigators, Erica Fattel and Alexander Seamus is also on this call. So when you do connect to the coordination center, those are going to be the two peer navigators you're going to talk to, and they are phenomenal. Moving on, again, my name is Jennifer Watson. I am one of the program managers for Serving Together. My regions are Prince George's County, Southern Maryland, and Washington, D.C. I've been with the program a little over 5 years now. Currently, I am acting director as our wonderful and inspirational director, Christy Kennedy, is on maternity leave. Looking forward to her return. And I'm also the coordination center supervisor as well. So I just want to go over this slide real quick. There's a lot of numbers here. The community needs during our COVID-19. So as we talked about prior, when we talk about clients versus service episodes, that's a client, and then the service episodes are each individual need that client may have. And as you can see from January 2020 to May 2021, how those needs have grown. So we are almost double and triple clients to service episodes. So you could have 75 distinct clients and then 211 service episodes. What that means is each client right now, I believe we're averaging about 4 to 5 assistance requests per client. Our goal has always been to pull about 3.5 to 4 needs out of a client, but during COVID and our intense screening, our new intakes that we're doing and screening questions, we are able to pull about 4 or 5 needs out of one client. So that's why you can see the distinct through the months, through the years, how that is really such an influx of numbers. I mean, it goes up and down for here. Again, we are going to be doing our breakout room. So if you have any specific questions for your regions and possibly what your areas are seeing, we will have a program manager in those areas to go over that, because each area has been different. But we just wanted to highlight, you know, what the needs are, what we're really seeing. Okay. So right now I am going to introduce Delegate Benjamin T. Brooks, Sr. Delegate Brooks is a Vietnam veteran and has served as a member of the Maryland House of Delegates, serving the Legislative District of Baltimore County since 2015. He is also a member of the House Economic Matters Committee, the Alcoholic Beverages Subcommittee. He is the chair of the Public Utilities Subcommittee and serves as the Chief Deputy Majority Whip. On top of this, Delegate Brooks serves as the Vice Chair of the Baltimore County House Delegations and is the Treasurer of the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland and serves as a member of the Democratic and Veteran Caucuses. Delegate Brooks resides in Woodstock, Maryland with his wife, Teresa, whom is a retired Catholic school principal. Together, they have 3 children and 7 grandkids. Delegate Brooks, welcome, sir, and the floor is now yours.
Why, thank you, Jennifer, and hello to everyone. It is certainly a pleasure to be with you this morning. I'm trying to multitask. Actually, I'm operating now from my car, so it's been one of those very extremely busy mornings. But especially it's nice to be with everyone. Yeah. For the record, as Jennifer said, I'm Delegate Ben Brooks. I represent the 10th Legislative District of Baltimore County. You know, and I just think that what you guys are doing is so important. I am a Vietnam vet. I served in Vietnam, and just to give you a quick little story of how that happened, that this was back in '69, and my buddy and I, we weren't getting along too well with our parents, so we decided we're gonna fix them. So we went and joined the Army on the buddy plan, thinking we're gonna be together through basic, AIT, and station together. Well, that lasted 3 days. That was through orientation. We both were sent to Nam. He was up north in Phu Bai. I was down south in Saigon, and we didn't see each other again until we got back stateside. But thank God we got back. Yeah. But you know, mental health is a challenge, and then oftentimes if we've got the ability to reach out, to talk, to discuss those challenges with someone, it could be just enough to get us over that particular challenge or that particular hump. You know, I remember back then, if you were having those particular challenges and you wanted to maintain a career in the military, and you were to go and seek some needed help, then that career was over with. You know, so that's what sort of prevented a lot of soldiers who could have been helped from seeking that help, you know. And oftentimes those particular challenges would manifest themselves into something else, and something that could be hazardous not only to the fellow comrades, but also to the particular individual himself, you know. So, but I think we're moving away from that, and we're allowing those particular individuals to get the help that they truly need. And Title 38 says that they should be able to get it. You know, I being a Vietnam vet, you know, and as mostly everyone knows, that was one very, very unpopular war. You know, we weren't shown a whole bunch of love when we got back. We used to say in the world when we got back stateside. And that was just a time. That was just. I mean, it was an unpopular war, and that was it. And oftentimes the dislike for that was sort of taken out on the troops. But I do think we've learned from that experience. We lost 58,000 comrades in that war. 58,000. 47,000 was due to combat. The average age of the Vietnam vet was 19, and I was 19 when I was in country. You know, there are a lot of troops who came back from Iraq or Afghanistan. If they were in NAM, they would not have made it. And that's how much more advanced the medical technology is, you know. But here again, we're talking about what I would consider now babies at age 19. You know, I did get an opportunity to go to the Vietnam Memorial, and this was back in about 15 years ago. You know, and it was a challenge. And oftentimes if the memories are less than fond, then we have the tendency to suppress or push it back. You know, but I did go. I wanted to go, and here again, the greatest challenge was walking that when I got to the wall, that at 40 feet. That was the greatest challenge, you know. So, but I did make it, and it was very surreal. You know, you start off with the lowest death, and then of course the numbers rise, then it plateaus, and then of course when it got closer to the time of us pulling out, then of course the casualties numbers drop as well. You know, but it you know, it was a challenge. Let's put it that way. But we've learned from that experience, and that's the positive. You know, we move forward. I'm from a family of 13. There were 13 kids. 13. I'm oldest son, but fourth child. But mom, she ran a tight ship. You know, but she told us, she said, you don't have a pity party. Pity is probably one of the most useless emotions in the universe. So what you do is you play the hand that you're dealt, then you move forward. And that's oops, technology. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me get back to where I was. Oh my, how did I do that? Oh boy, got it. Oh,
I think it's just your camera, Delegate Brooks. You
yes.
probably turned your camera off. We can still hear you.
Oh, okay, well, I'll keep talking until I can figure this out. Okay. Yeah. So you play the hand that you're dealt, and you continue to move forward. So that's what we did. You know, we didn't sit around and have a pity party. But when I got to the legislature, well, first I was in business for about 40 years, and then when I got to the legislature, you know, another thing that she instructed us to do. Number one, she said, don't do anything to bring shame or embarrassment to this family. Number two, she said, always be in a position to take care of self. But number three, she said, make at least one contribution to society. So I thought the legislature would offer an ideal platform for me to do such. And here again, hopefully I didn't violate the first two, you know. But one of the major positives about being in the legislature, that I was in a position where I could introduce bills or shepherd bills through that would favorably impact Marylanders, you know, and that's the positive. You know, we're there. I oftentimes tell my colleagues that we're there, and when we do run, when we do decide to serve the constituents, we want to do that for the right reason. And here again, that right reason is to do things to make the lives of Marylanders better. And that should always be the overriding mission, you know. And oftentimes I'm particularly fond of Vietnam veterans because that's the war that I was in. But if you were in, you know, Nam, if you were in, you know, Korea, you know, World War II, Afghanistan, I said, you know, it's same blood. You're my comrade. It's just different mud. So we're all soldiers, and we all did things what we thought was needed to protect this country and to protect our freedoms. You know, so but yeah, I knowing about the challenges of mental illness and sometimes brought on by stressful situations, you know, I introduced a bill this year for police officers that will allow them to get the help that they need. without it negatively impacting their career, you know, because when an officer comes to my home or one of my constituents' home, I want him to be whole, you know, and then when that is the case, then of course it becomes win-win for all. Yeah. So, but here again, I think what you're doing is great for veterans, for service members, and anything that I can do in the future to assist you, that I definitely will. And one of the things I do every year is to do a bill that would favorably impact veterans, and that's all veterans. And I want to apologize for this challenge I'm having with my my phone, but here again, thanks again for allowing me to be a part of this noble Zoom meeting this morning. I'm Ben Brooks, and I approve this message. So
Thank you so much.
okay. I don't know how I did this. How I got off.
And now you can just hit mute, Delegate Brooks, if you can find that on your phone. First and foremost, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. And I would, hold on. Now I'm having problems. First and foremost, I would like to thank everybody for joining us today. And I would like to thank our incredible speakers, Mr. Khalith Wright and Delegate Benjamin Brooks, for taking time out of their busy schedules to share not only their knowledge, but also their passion for the veteran community. I would like to personally thank the both of you for your individual service and your continued service within our communities. You have heard from Serving Together. We have shared our data. You have heard the stories from our speakers and our veteran clients. We have all experienced many roadblocks in the past year, not only in our personal lives, but within our professional lives as well. We have learned to adapt to virtual meetings, virtual conferences, and virtual seminars. We had to overcome technology and the obstacles of just meeting virtually while working from home and juggling family commitments with delicate precision. But one thing that has never wavered or changed is the mission. The mission is to serve our clients and to come together collectively. Our mission at Serving Together continues to rely on all of you, our partners, our community representatives, and our funders. Now, more than ever, it is critical to make that collective impact to empower the missions of our organizations, to identify the gaps in services for our veterans, and to build relationships as a community, as one team. Our role at Serving Together always has and always will continue to make those connections, to build our regional collaborative meetings, and to highlight the tremendous work all of our community partners are providing. Let us serve you and let us assist in serving your clients. Utilize our coordination center and the knowledge base of our veteran peer navigators. Together, we can uncover additional needs and can serve more people. We ask you to join and participate in our collaborative meetings. These meetings are designed to affect change and give opportunities for all organizations to discuss, develop, and plan. Serving Together has been doing this work for 10 years now, but we continue to need your participation as we support one another to build a more inclusive, diverse, equitable, and accessible safety net. Again, thank you all for your attendance today. Now continue to please stay logged in for the post-IPR networking event breakout rooms, which will happen automatically. Thank you all and see you again soon.